All right. Oh, dang, that'd be quick. Well,
Okay, it's recording. All right. Oh, let me make sure I got my backup. Okay, ready? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of the DLF Podcast, Dreams, Love, Faith by Sierra Janelle. This episode is called Think Like a Queen, featuring my dearest friend, role model, leader, Kiersten Hash.
hi, everyone. Super excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you so much for doing the interview. Through all trials and errors, I really
Yes.
appreciate you doing this and making sure that there's female representation on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. We've had our little bumps in the road and getting this all together,
Yes.
but we're going to figure it out. This is going to be the best time that we do it.
Yes, for sure. And if you are new, my name is Sierra Reynolds. I am the creator, founder, and host of the DLF Podcast, and you can find it on all social medias, all platforms. Just search Dreams, Love, Faith. So we're gonna get right into it. Basically, who is Kiersten Hash? So if you want to introduce yourself to everyone listening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kiersten. I am 18 years old. I am a freshman at Harvard University. I plan to major in government with a minor in environmental science and public policy. And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to high school with Sierra. I'm super passionate about advocacy, advocating for marginalized groups, learning about the issues facing our world today, and just protecting your peace, which I'm sure we'll talk about throughout this episode.
Yes, for sure. And like you mentioned, we went to high school together, and that's actually one of the Q&A questions. How did we meet? How long we've been friends? And we
Yeah.
met freshman year of high school in health class, like where
Yep.
everybody, the mandatory health class.
Yes.
And that was a year. That was a
Mm-mm.
class for sure.
That was very fun. Crazy memories.
It was for sure, but yeah, we've been friends ever since. I think it's one of those things that like naturally just happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't like forced, like, hey, can I sit with you at lunch? You want to be my
Right.
friend? So yeah, that we went to Malachi High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. But Kiersten, you mentioned that you're passionate about advocacy. If you want to just expand on that and some things that you've done so far, if you want to talk about Queens for Change, just let everyone listening what that aspect is of your life.
So I'll say that as long as I can remember, I've been passionate about the issues facing our world. Of course, I always wasn't super knowledgeable about everything that was going on, but just knowing that I had the power to create change and that I could use my voice to advocate was something very important. And that was instilled in me from like being a young child. I think growing up in Charlotte, you really get a taste of like a lot of the issues that many groups go through, but especially in urban areas, like seeing the ways that, homelessness and the legacy of segregation in housing and
Right.
segregation in schools, all these issues culminate and impact the most vulnerable communities. It's something I observed growing up and then realized that I could do something about. So, of course, you take the time to try to find your voice and like figure out how that looks for you. But eventually I realized that I wanted to create a safe space for Black girls because I felt like it was missing just in our area. So in 2019, I founded a community organization called Queens for Change, which essentially serves to uplift and empower young Black girls in the city. And we host panel discussions, service events, advocacy campaigns. We even hosted like a fashion walk slash fashion show slash purpose walk to advocate about issues while promoting self-love and promoting Afrocentric beauty. And it's been events like these where we've been able to empower and uplift the girls that are in the network, allow them to highlight the issues facing them, and then encouraging them and empowering them to give back to their communities. So that's been a great experience for me, just growing as an advocate, becoming a more responsible advocate. And then, of course, through as the past couple years have happened with, everything surrounding just like the pandemic and the election and everything that happened concerning the Black Lives Matter movement, it really pushed me to think on a larger scale about how I can be more responsible advocate, be more educated, And I really just delved into like so many different issues, just learning about the roots of them, as many of us did. And through that, like having a wider lens about what I wanted Queens for Change to look like, hosting events that were more issue based, getting involved in the Crown Act campaign in North Carolina, and then just really understanding that my voice can be used to create institutional change, even farther than just, you know, creating a network, which is super important, but like using that network to advocate and build a coalition.
Right. And I love that you're doing it. I mean, I guess you can say such a young age, because yeah, such a young age, because it's good to have that youth position in, I guess,
Right.
and a youth representation. And like you said, to empower and to motivate and to inspire, it's so important to see a peer doing it first-handedly. I'm so, so proud of you, just of everything that you're
Thank
doing and
you.
you're to do. I think, yeah, it's very important for us to raise up the younger generation as well, and very important for us to be uplifted in the process as we're going into, you know, adulthood, as we're
Right,
basically
right.
there. But yeah, I love that, you know, that representation is being shown, and that you are, you know, stepping forth and being a leader, and, you know, it's just amazing to
Thank
see.
you. Thank you
And
so much.
this growing up, like you said, at a very young age, you knew you probably, you know, you were passionate about advocacy and making change. But I don't know if you were always like this. So, you know, what are some processes that really shaped you into the person you're becoming, or that you've become?
So I'll say, while I was always like wanting to create change, I remember when Trayvon Martin was killed, and I did not understand. Like looking back, I literally did not really know what was going on, obviously, but I thought it was more of an issue of gun control, just the way that people were talking about it, which it definitely is.
Right,
You
right.
know, there were so many issues that culminated in that instance, but I remember being, I guess, 10 years old and making signs with my little sister who was like five at the time. And it said, "No gun, not fun." And we walked around our driveway
Oh,
saying,
wow.
"No gun, not fun." Because just from a young age, seeing, you know, learning about the history of our ancestors and always resisting and always demonstrating and organizing and mobilizing, I knew that at that age, like I could create change and do something that is impactful and stand up for what's right. While I always didn't have the answers, I knew that like I had the power to
Yep.
use my voice. But as I got older, especially, you know, considering the ways that our political climate has changed and become more polarized over the past 4 years or 5 years, I really had to grapple with the fact that I didn't have all the answers. And how was I going to get the answers so I could be responsible and use my voice properly?
Right.
I remember in 8th grade when Keith Lamont Scott was murdered, and one of the girls in my class who were having a discussion basically was saying that she didn't understand why we were upset. Obviously, she was white. She didn't understand why we were upset. She thought, you know, if he would have just followed directions, he wouldn't be in that position to be, you know, having his life taken. And all of us got very frustrated, especially the Black kids in class, which it was a majority Black classroom. So that was like a very bold of her to say.
Very
But
bold.
none of us, like, I remember trying to articulate why it was such a big issue and why you can't just paint it like this frame of, oh, he should have followed directions, and like the implications of the criminality of Black bodies, or like the ways that Black men are perceived even by other Black police officers, because it was a Black police officer in that case. And like
Yep.
I did not understand those complexities, and I just remember fumbling over my words, just being so frustrated and so impassioned that like I literally couldn't get out what I wanted to say. And I felt like I was just wanted to cry, because I was like, I don't know how to articulate to her and to the rest of my classmates why this issue matters and what are the historical roots of it, and how we have to create change going forward, and how we have to hold law enforcement
Yeah.
accountable. So in that moment, I really realized like the limits of my advocacy and what I was able to do. And then I remember even again in 8th grade, like when the days leading up to the 2016 election, which was just very hard for a lot of people
Very well.
grappling with those results. But I remember there was like a Trump supporter in my class that was just like shouting out all these facts about why Obamacare was horrible and like, what did Obama really do? I didn't know. I was 13. But like,
Yeah.
even in that moment, like realizing, you know, as a Black student, especially, or as a Black woman or Black girl at that time, like you have to grow up so quick to counter these narratives that like are spoon fed to conservative children as they're like growing
Uh-huh.
up. And like he's just talking about, yeah, name 3 things Obama did. I said Obamacare, and he was like, Obamacare was like sucks, blah blah blah. Throws out all these random, which are, you know, falsified, not falsified, but like misframed and like just very
Mhm.
narrow-minded statistics about why Obamacare is so bad. And
Right.
then I think I just didn't know anything else.
Oh,
So I was just like, whatever, he's great. Like I know he's great. Stop, get off my back. But like
right.
it was moments like those where I realized the limits and the constraints of my advocacy. And this is in 8th grade. So
Yeah.
going forward, I tried to figure out ways like to educate myself. And as I think James Baldwin said, like it's impossible for you as a Black person that's becoming more educated about issues to not become in a constant state of anger. Because when you realize what's really going on in the world, the easiest thing to do is just to become angry and bitter and then become
Mhm.
complacent because you just feel like there's so many issues. But
Right.
I think that it really empowered me to learn about these issues, knowing again the history of the people in our community and our ancestors that have always resisted, and knowing that I wanted to be a part of that legacy. So it was not always an easy process of me figuring out how I was going to advocate. And obviously, like you look back, even, you know, just 2 years ago, about the ways that my mindset has changed about community work and like
Mhm.
building coalitions and how I want to move through the world. But like, I always look back, you know, even when I was starting Queens for Change, grateful that I took that step, because imagine if I wouldn't have done it and then,
Right.
you know, just been sitting on these issues and sitting with this passion that just is not being channeled. And I could know all the issues in the world and know like all the complexities and all the intricacies and all the nuances. But if I'm not doing anything about it, then that just makes me like a super critical person with nothing to back it, you know?
Right.
And so I just think like going through this journey of self-discovery and like introspection and reflection was really important for me, but also at the same time realizing that you don't have to have all the answers, but if you have a good heart and you know what you're passionate about, then you can create change.
Yes, and I love that because you said you took the time to educate yourself, even in the times where you didn't know all the answers. I mean, we were young, you know, and even talking about the Trayvon Martin, I remember not really knowing what was going on. I just knew that
Yeah.
he got killed, but I didn't know what consisted of it. I didn't really
Hmm.
know. And then once I figured out, and once like because once I understood what actually happened, and then Black Lives Matter has grown so much
Hmm.
of it, and it's sad. It's sad to say, but it has grown, and just ways that we can prevent it is how we can educate ourselves. And yeah, I just remember for myself just learning more about it, because I wanted to make sure, like I have brothers, you know, and I have sisters, I have
Right.
siblings, I have parents, like you want to make sure, and then myself, you know, protecting ourselves. But it's so hard because, like you said, for years our ancestors have fought, and for us to have something good, but for them to live, and it's just it's sad to see another Black American go, every
Yeah.
time that it happens. Sad to say. um but I think that if we educate ourselves as Black Americans ourselves, and then for allies as well, you know, people that are not African American, it's good to make sure that we're speaking up for what's right and speaking
Mhm.
out about things that are, you know, issues right now. And I know, for example, like I have a philosophy class right now in college, and our professor is white, and
Mm.
the whole class is Black.
Oh yeah, I was like, wait a minute, HBCU.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And yes, and we the first day of class, he was like, okay, we're gonna talk about moral issues. So the first thing
Mm.
we say is social injustice, racism. Like these are moral issues, and he's poverty, world hunger. Yes, these are moral issues, but the class in that area and environment that you're in, these are the things that we want to talk about. So we're going in depth into it and we're talking about it. And obviously we're not expecting him to be on the same level as us. We're not expecting him to relate completely, but we need to be able to have a conversation about it without it being pacified, without it being thrown under a bus or, anything. And we're comprehending and trying to articulate to him, I guess, in a way that where we're coming from. And then we're also to take in where he's coming from, as in, okay, I know I don't really understand, but if you just, teach me, I guess. So we have to be able to calmly articulate how we feel without the feelings of, everyone that has passed, and just the feelings towards the whole movement and towards the people that are gone. So I think there's a lot of, adjustments to be made, and a lot of ways that we can really, just educate ourselves. Educate ourselves.
Right.
And, growing up, like you said, with you learning your limits and learning your, what did you say? Learn limits and
like my constraints. Yeah.
Your constraints. Yes. I think that's going to continue to grow. Even now, because I was, you growing up, and then now growing even more up, that's going to continue to grow for sure. And what would you say is just like an important way that you keep yourself motivated, keeping yourself empowered, and I guess thriving throughout society, changing every day? How do you keep yourself motivated?
I think that that's such a great question. Well, I'll answer it, I guess, in general, and then more towards advocacy. I guess like the things that just keep me motivated in general is like wanting to, make my family proud, or just genuinely having a desire to be successful, but knowing that like success doesn't have to just be one thing, it doesn't have to be monetary gain. It doesn't have to be like a Nobel Peace Prize. It doesn't have to be like, accolades, but just feeling like you've done something powerful and like done something for yourself is important for me. But also like, stepping into God's purpose for my life, and like understanding that he has called me to do great things. And like, I can only imagine what I have in store for my life, but he knows. And all I have to do is lean on him and trust him, which just continues to motivate me. And I think for advocacy, that's like my primary driver, because honestly, like it's really hard for a lot of people. I mean, everybody has different reasons for going into advocacy. And, like as we were talking about, offline, like in high school, a lot of what you're doing, which I don't blame anybody for having this motivation, but a lot of what you're doing is so I can get into a good college. So this looks good on a college resume. And even like advocating in high school, that was always at the back of my mind. Like, oh, I'm doing these events, I care about these issues, but I also know that this is going to look good for college apps. And I hate to like know that that's true, and that to be like something that's continuing to drive me, but it is. Right. And I think that after like I got into the college I wanted to, I really had to like ask myself, why am I advocating? And like, even actually before I even like applied to colleges, I was still trying to figure out, like, I know I'm advocating because I care about my community and I care about the issues that are facing me. But what's stopping me from feeling like, okay, there's too many issues, why am I even doing anything? Right. Or like, even if I try my hardest in the world, like there's still going to be so many issues, why am I doing anything? And what it really circled back to for me is like, God wants us to love each other. And my loving someone means advocating for the issues that are affecting you. And I'll do that until I, can't do it anymore, because that's what God has called me to do. And right. We have an obligation just as human beings to whatever extent we can to help each other. And there are going to be people that are called to help each other through being teachers. There's going to be people called through all different occupations. Right. But I've found that, my focus is going to be on public service and on, tackling these issues head on and through policy and through community building. So why wouldn't I just step into that purpose and continue to go through that work?
Right. And it's about, purpose, your gift, and your reason. I talked about this in another episode, but I was talking about the movie, it's in my head. The movie on Disney Plus with Jamie Foxx.
Soul. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I don't know why I was going to say joy, but no, soul. And talking about your spark, and
Mhm.
what is for you is for you. Who is meant for you is meant for you, and what is meant for you is meant for you. And like you said, like you're gonna lean not on your own understanding, but trust in God's promise for your life, and He has a plan and a purpose for you, and your gift will always make room for you. I know my mom always told me that. She was like, your gift will always make room for you. Wherever you go into a room, decrease you, increase Him, because you never know what you're gonna step into. And I think it's so important to keep ourselves motivated and to keep ourselves empowered in our gift and in our purpose. Because, like you said, there are going to be many of different people through their purpose, working through their purpose in different ways and different aspects. So I love that yours is advocacy, and then someone else listening, it might be something else, but know that you have a purpose and a plan, and God has a purpose and a plan for your life. And
Right.
you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And
Amen.
it's true, it is. But your gift will definitely always make room for you. So if there's any, time where, either of us felt doubt, or if someone listening feels doubt, or anything like that, just know that step out on courage, step out on faith, step out on trust, I guess, and know that you can do it if you put your mind to
Yeah.
it. Because we weren't always like this, I guess. Like we weren't
Right.
always as confident, and knew our purpose from when we first were born. Like we had to grow
Right.
into it, and those things were taught, to us, about what it means to be God fearing and what it means to step out on faith. And I think that throughout high school, for example, us being like super involved,
Hmm.
it could take a toll sometimes. It can take a toll on our bodies and our
Yeah. Yeah.
mindset. So we just want to speak on that. Like, how did it take a toll on you? And then I'll say how it took a toll on me.
Yeah. I think that like anyone that's really super involved in high school, or I think that everyone like has their own struggles in high school. You don't have to be like the person that did 10 clubs. I mean, there's people going through societal circumstances that I can't even imagine, that are
Mhm.
just, struggling to get to class and like be focused in class because of what they have going on at home. So I
Right.
think everyone's dealing with their own stuff. And but for people that, a lot of their priority was strictly on school, even despite their circumstances, like getting a good education, going to college, getting a good college education, and doing whatever it takes to get to those places, it really takes a toll on you when
Yeah.
you're super hard on yourself, or your family has expectations for you to do well. And even if like your family's chill on it, just like you in your own expectations for yourself and what you see yourself doing. I know for me, like I was very stressed throughout different times in high school. And of course, it went through ebbs and flows, but like in terms of me dividing my time and managing my time, there was definitely times, and like definitely not as much freshman year. I was still, kind of easing into it. But the beginning of sophomore year, midway through junior year, and like the end of senior year were really points in my life where I just felt super stressed.
Mhm.
And of course, through each of those times, I learned a little more. And I think by the last time in senior year, I like really, you know, like I had gone through that a couple times. So I was like, okay, I know what to do in this moment.
Right.
But like it's not easy when everything is riding on you getting good grades, and everything is riding on like all the extracurriculars you're doing all at once, all this
Mhm.
all the time. And it's hard for high schoolers. We were talking about the fact that like we were not getting any sleep in high school because
Yeah.
like we were waking up at 5 something. You go to
Mhm.
school for 7 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. You have clubs. Then you have your sports practices. Then you
Yep.
get home and have to do hours of homework. Like, and God forbid you have multiple extracurriculars in one day, because you'll be passed out once you get home, but you still
Right.
have to do hours of homework. Like it was definitely unsustainable. For a lot of people, it's unsustainable. And people wonder why like teenagers, especially now with like the invent and the rise of social media and like
Mhm.
comparison constantly, you wonder why so many people are struggling with their mental health, because
Right.
like it feels like the stakes have upped. And like college is getting more competitive, it's getting more expensive, more people are fighting for scholarships, and there's so many kids that do not feel whole because they're chasing after what society tells them is gonna like lead to happiness or lead to success. And then in the meantime, like you're breaking down your body and your mental health for these goals that you never know what could happen to you in tomorrow. Like, and then, you know, something happens, and then it's like, did I live my life even as a teenager feeling whole or feeling happy? And a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people don't have inner joy, which is just really sad. And I know that like in high school, it was hard for me to prioritize my mental health. Of course I tried, but like, I think here, and you know, we can talk about it some more, like in college is a great time to really start off with like centering yourself first, then everything else comes after, then schoolwork, then social life, then extracurriculars, all that comes around you focusing on yourself. And for those that are Christians or like, you know, believe in God, like focusing on your spirituality.
Right. And like you were saying, like protect your peace first, because us, you know, you were saying that it's important. And I know I didn't even realize the importance of mental health until I got here, actually. Like really just recapping high school period after I graduated. And I think it was like after graduation, it really hit me. I was like, wait, like I was stressed. I was really like I was doing a lot, and it was a choice, obviously. Like I enjoyed it, but the time, like just prioritizing my time and working on myself first, it was not a priority in high school at all. And now I would say it is. Like we use those Zoom codes for class. Like if I need to sleep, I'm gonna sleep, you know, and whatever it means, or to go out onto a walk or work out, drink water, just something. As we're drinking water.
Drink water.
And I think it's so important to prioritize your mental health and your peace, and making sure that's a priority. Because it's insane. I didn't realize the importance of it at all. But yeah, I didn't realize that and prioritize it as well as I am now. But it really does take just like the little things, like I was saying, the water, you just making your bed or anything like that. But like we were talking about in sleep wise, like here, I'm having an 11 o'clock class. Okay, so I'm up by 9:45 maybe to get ready. And by 2 o'clock, I'm tired. And I don't know why it's different for some reason in college.
It's so different.
But definitely prioritizing your health and prioritizing yourself first, putting yourself first in situations. I know sometimes it's okay to, you know, be by yourself. You don't always have to go to every party. You don't always have to go to every every event. Like it's okay to sit and be still. I was talking about this in another episode. On how I ran for Miss Freshman here at A&T within my first 2 weeks. And I was talking to you about it, or I was talking in a different episode, but, you know, I ran for Miss Freshman within my first 2 weeks being here in college, and auditioned for the gospel choir my first 2 weeks of being in college, all at the same time. And I didn't get into the gospel choir. I didn't make it, become Miss Freshman. But I believe everything happens for a reason, and God's purpose and plan is for my life. And I think he was really me like, hey, you just got here, be still, assess your environment, you know, because knowing me, I'll jump into everything and then not really understand, you know, all that it entails, because I was so quick to, you know, be in it. But now I'm a part of 2 orgs, and I would have never known about them if I made the other 2. So everything happens for a reason, for sure. But I think it was one of those moments. There was like, be still, assess your environment, see what's going on first. And I think that's something that's, you know, molding me into the person that I'm becoming, is just to be still and to assess before quickly getting into something. I think it's important sometimes. You have to know what you're getting into before you're getting into it.
No, totally. I think like you said so many gems, like so many quotable things, but I think like the idea of God kind of showing you need to slow down sometimes is super important. Like you'll have those moments where it's like, dang, like I'm juggling all these things, but it feels like nothing's really sticking. And sometimes you're just supposed to be in a waiting period, and like he has you in a space so that he can move you forward or grow you as a person before you receive what you're supposed to receive. And like, we're not always content with that, but like, that's what you just have to go through sometimes. And I think like, especially for us being freshmen coming to college, it's easy to say yes to everything. And like a lot of upperclassmen really told me, you know, be okay with saying no. And I've been trying.
I'm trying my best.
It's like, it's hard to like not say no, but even like because of them and the people that have told me to say no, like if I was just going in like feeling like I had to prove myself constantly, I would be so stressed. And I know people that are super stressed because they're hopping from club meeting to club meeting every day, like, and it's just too much for them. And of course, you know, you're gonna have your busy days, but like making sure you find that balance is super important for any high schoolers. Obviously, you have to do that in high school as well. But when you get to college, you made it to college. Be like thankful and proud of yourself that you made it this far. Now it's about like really honing in on what you would like to do, finding the things that you're passionate about, and not just focusing on curriculum, because of course there's gen eds and stuff, but college is the time to really just explore your intellectual interests, find what you're truly passionate about as a young adult. So don't think that you have to like rinse and repeat the same formula from high school of like involving yourself in 20 million clubs that you barely even are invested in. Like it's okay to, and really like the people here, and I'm sure it's the same for A&T too, like it's just a couple of organizations that they're passionate about. It could just be one, and they're heavily invested and you can see the growth and the fruits of their labor. You don't have to be the person that's in everything. Like it's okay to find a couple things that are just good for you and good for your spirit and feed your passions. And you can sit with that.
Right. And it's like, even if it's like a good one, like it's okay.
Right.
Because you're gonna learn to have like a growth mindset, and not a fixed mindset. So you're gonna be open to so many things because college has so much to offer. You just have to one, seek out for it, or two, I mean, it will come to you. It really will, because it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. I know that's how it is here at E&T, but you know, it's everywhere. So definitely, you know, having a growth mindset with anything that you do too. It can't, not solely on academics, but just with life, period. Be open to new things and be open to people's opinions. And then that's how you go about certain situations. But then also, we were talking about before, not seeking validation from anyone, how important self-love is, and making sure that, you know, you're good and your peace is protected, and not wanting approval or love from someone else before, you know, you can do that for yourself. So if you want to, you know, talk any of that, you know, validation thing.
Yeah. I think that, like, you know, I was telling you our experience, especially mine. I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody and stuff, but a lot of high school girls, and I had this similar experience, go through like these really crummy lessons of finding out what it means to like seek male validation, what it means to like genuinely like somebody and genuinely have interest in them. And like, you know, some people finding love, like what does love look like for you? And for me, in, you know, in elementary school, I thought I was super cute, whatever. I had like pretty good self-confidence because you're a child. Like obviously, I mean, there's definitely kids that, you know, from a young age, like their upbringing may force them to feel more insecure about themselves. And that just wasn't the case for me. My parents, you know, instilled in me that I was beautiful and that I deserved things and that I shouldn't have to like lower my standards platonically, you know, romantically, but just in general, like you're worthy. But I think by the time I got to middle school and kind of like 7th to 8th grade, external influences really start to get to me and like wear me down, just feeling like I didn't get enough male attention, feeling like the guys that I liked didn't like me back, or they liked my friends. And then the guys that liked me, like I wasn't really interested in them. I wasn't checking for them. And, you know, even that, I just happened to not like these guys, but I didn't even understand back then, like, you know, there are guys that find you beautiful. So that's okay. You can like be okay with that. You just are looking at the wrong people anyway. But yeah, by the time I got to 8th grade, I really was like insecure about the way I looked. I had gorgeous, amazing friends, and I still have them today. I love them dearly. But like, you know, being surrounded by such amazing, beautiful women or young women, and like seeing the attention that they got, I was really confused and just like, why am I not getting attention? Am I just not pretty enough? Little did I know I was like super mean to boys, which was probably like half the
Oh,
reason that nobody wanted
I
to
think
mess with
that's
it.
why.
I think, but also like, I think that some personality types, like as a young girl, as a young woman, like really intimidate guys. Not to say that like the people that do get male attention like are just like less strong or whatever, because that's just not true. But like there are just some personality types that are more abrasive in the eyes of guys, and like
Right.
they want somebody that they're able to kind of easily mold, even as
Right.
young people. And like when you're not that type, then they're just not checking for you. But I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, still, like I just had growing to do on the inside and the outside, because we all had our little glow ups in high school.
Thank God for the glow-ups. Oh my God.
Thank you, Jesus, for the glow. But
Yes.
back then, like in 8th grade, I really did not understand my beauty, and I did not value it. I was like very insecure about the way I looked. I like overanalyzed my face, and even like the symmetry of my face. It was like, oh my God, my face isn't symmetrical. Little did I know everybody's face is asymmetrical.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like I had it was like a whole midlife crisis,
Oh
like
my God.
looking in the mirror, like, oh my God, like my face, like one side is larger
No.
than the other. This is why I don't get no Negro. No,
Oh
like,
no.
but no, I just really did not like understand, one, that beauty is subjective, two, that like there are people that are going to find you beautiful, three, that the hierarchy of beauty is like so intrinsically tied to like all these different power dynamics that we see today that are like rooted in horrible systems, that we really should just not even care about it. Like
Yeah.
if you don't fall into conventional beauty standards, that does not say anything about your personal beauty, and like somebody's going to find you beautiful, because the standards that we have right now are like very confined. And even now, like the whole Instagram baddie look, it's like amalgamations of like different racial cultures all
Yep.
put together on light skin. It's very like toxic anyway. So, but back then, of course, like I didn't realize my beauty, and it took me a while throughout high school to figure out and realize that I was worthy, like because in like middle school, I felt like I was so behind developmentally wise, and like in terms of, getting male attention. When I finally got to high school and started like looking older and looking, more prettier and societal standards, whatever, and got male attention, it was the wrong kind of male attention. And I literally would grasp at anything I could get. So like the first guys I talked to or texted, I should not have even been messing with them. Like the ways that they dogged me, the ways that I got played and rejected and like ruined myself, or just violated in the worst ways. Like I should never have been putting up with that. Like when I think about the clownery, and you can speak to it, you look back and you're like, I know I did
Yeah.
not just put up with all that BS, like for no reason. But it's really about like valuing your standards. And I used to say like back then I was picky. I was not picky. I was not picky.
Yeah.
If I thought a guy was cute and he slid on me, and that's a whole nother thing, like not even knowing somebody, but like jumping from straight to strangers to budding romance, and you don't even know this person or like them. Like you're just kind of manufacturing this flirtatious relationship, not based on actual platonic feelings. And because of that, you just open the door for so many issues and like so many insecurities. And I just wasn't ready to accept that I didn't have to say yes to everyone. And I guess that's like another thing, like, saying no doesn't just apply to like not being overcommitted in school and in extracurriculars. It also means holding yourself accountable to your own standards that you set. Like acknowledging them. Like if you're ignoring the standards that you set for yourself because somebody's calling you cute, it's only going to lead to you being heartbroken in the end and feeling less fulfilled than you were before. And I really had to come to terms with that and realize that. And now, like, because I haven't put my standards aside, I'm able to like really explore my romantic life and like, find people, and not just romantically, but, just finding people that truly care about you, and like, you don't have to lower your standards for them. And the time will come, ladies and men and non-binaries,
Look,
where
be
you
patient,
find,
please.
right, be patient. You're going to find somebody. And even if you don't,
It's okay.
We are not going to invest all our energy and time into fulfilling romantic fleeting relationships anyways.
Right. And valuing your standards for regular relationships too. So like Kiersten was saying, not in a romantic sense like altogether, but for people who truly care about you, that's within friendships, partnerships,
Right.
business partnerships, like when you're doing something professionally,
Yeah.
creating that, it's important in knowing who your true friends are. And
Yes.
yeah, like you said, I can speak on that. I'm not messing with
Yeah.
previous people for reasons. And I used to think I was picky too. But it was just not the right, it wasn't the right person. It wasn't the right thing or situation. Like it just wasn't for me. And it took some time to realize that, because when you're in high school or middle school and like that attention is getting towards you, you like want to grab that attention. You're like, yeah, like, okay, you want to talk to me?
Right.
And like, oh, it just wasn't what was supposed to go down, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't supposed
Yeah.
to, you're not supposed to entertain something that doesn't even fit your standard. Like it just doesn't add up. But now realizing that, I'm glad for the experiences beforehand of entertaining
Yes.
text and things like that. And I'm glad that now I understand the importance of standards, and what it truly means to have standards. Not like, oh, I want a tall 6'4" person. I like
Right. Right. That's and yeah, there's the difference between like these physical things like and the
yep,
preferences like that stuff because that's even, loaded in its own right. But like there's a difference between having some weird preference or fetishization and
yeah,
like actually having standards for yourself like about people's character. Like, I don't want
whoa,
somebody that's going to do this to me. I don't want somebody that's going to make me feel like this. If I feel this way in a relationship for too long of a period, or if like the bad is outweighing the good, I'm not going to stay. And you have to have those standards and like realize this person, no matter what the connection is with them, you're going to feel better once you either work through whatever is going on or just leave them.
yeah.
Just cut
Honestly,
it
at
off.
the end of the day,
Because I mean the worst that could happen is like you never talk to them, but the best that could happen is like you grow as people, you have like
yeah.
a good friendship, or you come back to each other after you've grown as people, and maybe things will work out another time.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like just the importance of knowing your self-worth and knowing your self-love, acknowledging it, recognizing it, and acting on it, truly acting on
Yeah.
it. And, we're still learning ourselves. But these are things that we've already learned so far. And I think it's going to help us grow as young women. And as we're, getting into relationships or, making new friends and meeting new people, it genuinely helps
Yeah.
just connecting
Hmm.
with new people. And you know, as we're learning about self-love and learning about our self-worth, we always, lead with faith and not by fear. And as just
Hmm.
leaders continuing to be leaders, and already, embedded leaders, how important is faith in, being a leader? How important is that factor in your life?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I feel like my primary motivation for a lot of what I do is just based on my spirituality and my relationship with God and my upbringing, which has instilled those values in me. I think that faith doesn't just always have to be like something based in specific religion or spirituality, but just like having faith in yourself and believing in yourself literally can change your whole mindset. Because
Right.
when you have faith in what you're doing and like just the basis that I, as a human being, like the things that I do, they deserve, accolades, or not even accolades, but the things I do have value. The person I am, I inherently have value. When you understand and appreciate that value, then other people can see it too. And in terms of spirituality, it's like when you allow God to truly use you and guide you and give you discretion on what to do and how to maintain and give your energy, then your whole mindset changes and people can see like the
Yes.
selectivity.
Mhm.
I feel like, a huge thing with faith is like being selective in what you choose to do and like protecting your peace, of course, like
Right.
guarding your heart. And when you're able to like see what God has for you, and if obviously it's not like super clear in the future, but when you're able to see that he has a plan for your life, you're able to say no to things because you know it's not on your path, because you have goals and you have faith in what God has in store for you. You're able to say no to toxic and parasitic relationships because you know what God has in store for you. And you have faith in what God has in store for you. And I think that like holding that really just shifts your mindset, and it really allows you to be more protective of your inner self.
For sure. And, you're able to set apart right from wrong. You're able to set yourself apart from right and wrong as well.
Right.
Knowing good and what's not. And like we said we said before, don't let your doubts control your dreams. And I had to write it down because it is such a good like saying. But seriously, don't let your doubts control your dreams, and don't let fear take over your goals. I need to write that down.
Yeah.
No,
you're just dropping all the quotables right now.
No, for real. But no, seriously, don't let fear. Mike is gone. Don't let fear take over your goals and your spirit and your purpose to live, and the reason why you do what you do, and the reason why you live, and the people you live for. It's just it's truly about protecting yourself. And with the title being think like the queen, that crown that's on your head, don't let it fall. Don't let it fall
right
at all. Hey, listening, don't let it fall, because you're held up to a certain I don't want to say a certain standard, but you're held up to a certain purpose that's for you. You're held up to that expectation into being into the journey that God has planned for you. And don't let doubt or fear or anyone or anything tell you can't do anything that you put your mind to. If you have a goal, if you have a dream, write it down, start it up. It only takes one person to listen. We were talking about it earlier. If you just, say your idea to someone, you never know who they might know. You never know.
You don't know who people know. Exactly. And I think that, going off the point of like, just going for it and kind of not being scared. Like I think about my advocacy work again, like not wanting to be complacent, because even if I didn't have all the answers, knowing that at the end of the day, I'm passionate about things, I'm willing to grow and learn. And like, if I fall or if I make mistakes, it's okay, because I'm growing and I'm learning. And I think especially like people that are influencers or like want to create platforms for themselves, want to create brands. I don't like to say that cancel culture really exists, because people that do problematic things, honestly, for the most part, don't like actually get deplatformed. But like the threat or the fear of like being ostracized because you have a blind spot or because you make a mistake is definitely something that a lot of people are like struggling with right now, especially in advocacy, and like trying to make sure you don't, offend anybody. And that's important. I think like it's always important to hear and consider the values and the thoughts of marginalized groups, because, moving forward, especially if you're an ally, like in these spaces, you are not even like talking about your own struggles. So why wouldn't you hold yourself to that higher standard? But at the same time, I think it's better to say something and be corrected than to say nothing at all and be complacent. And I hope that like going forward, people in all aspects are like more forgiving and more open. And again, it's a hard line to toe, because I don't like to tell people like they should be obligated to educate people, especially like marginalized groups educating, privileged people. But like understanding that everyone that is going through this work is like working through their own internalized whatever, their internalized racism, colorism, all these things. And not everyone's going to be on the same pure mindset level playing field as you. Everyone's coming from different points. And when you understand that, then you're able to like take them for who they are, which is a complex human being that has faults, but also has a good heart and is trying to do what's right. And I think for me, like if with Queens for Change, again, as I said earlier, like if I would have sat back because I was like, well, I don't have all the answers yet. I don't know the historical roots of the prison industrial complex. I can't host an advocacy event. I don't know these things. Then then like I would have never started. And I think it's just starting about like what you're comfortable in. And then for your growth areas, making sure that you educate yourself. That's the most important thing. And if you're doing that, and if you're willing to go forward and have faith in these moments, then you're able to just be growing as a person as you're doing advocacy work or whatever you may be doing, as you're, you know, fulfilling God's purpose for your life.
For sure. And, just, living without limits, and don't act on your abilities as they're still growing and leaving room to grow, for sure.
Right.
Those are some amazing gems, amazing conversation.
Thank you.
So now we're going to get into the Q&A part of the podcast. We have a lot of questions, and a lot of them are pretty repetitive, but there are a lot to answer. So we're going to get right into it. Someone asks, how are you really?
I am doing well. Yesterday, a couple of days ago when we last talked, I was a little stressed. I was going to like 5 different events. Actually, I guess that was yesterday. Or 2 days, whatever. On Sunday, I was a little stressed, not gonna lie. I was like, man, but it was not like my last thing I had to do during the night. And then after that, I just had a great night. But I am like content. I am motivated to be productive today and excited that we started off the day like this.
For sure. I think, like we were talking about, God has a plan for everything, and everything has a reason behind it, even though it might drive us crazy and we're like, why did that happen? But just being content in circumstance. Next question is, what do you do for self-care?
I like to say that it's kind of the little things that I do, because I'm not the type of person that does like face masks I think that doing my hair is self-care, because I like doing different protective styles, and it's like really soothing for me to do, deep conditioners, let them sit, oil massages in my hair. But that's like the extent of cosmetic things that I do. It's really just like doing hair and makeup, like are the cosmetic things that I do to feel good about myself. But for the most part, it's just about like, as I was saying, like taking the next step or doing the next right thing. And that's a quote from Frozen 2. But like, that's a great movie, by the way. But like, watch Frozen 2. No, just like making your bed when you don't feel like it. It really just makes me feel better to do things that I'm like kind of dreading doing. Like once I get it done, I know like I got to do laundry. I have a huge pile of clothes sitting right over there. But when I know once I do it, like I'm going to feel so much better and just be like, yes, I'm so glad I did it, instead of letting my clothes pile up like they're doing now and like falling over my dryer basket thingy. But I think it's just about like, because a lot of self-care discourse is rooted in like materialism and like, oh yeah, buy the sonic hairbrush to, moisturize your face and like relax, or buy this steamer thingy for your face, buy a humidifier, blah, blah, blah. Like buy all these things to make yourself feel better. And that's not always accessible for everyone. So what I like to do is just, little things that make me feel good about myself, remaining centered, listening to music, things that, you could be doing on a daily basis, but being mindful and knowing that like in this moment right now, I am practicing self-care, and you don't even have to say it explicitly, but like I'm putting myself first, and this is something that's helping me focus on my mental health.
For sure. And you mentioned your hair, so one of the next questions is, what products do you use in your hair?
So it's been a long journey of me figuring out, what works best for my hair. And I think you never truly know like what's the secret recipe that'll make it perfect. But I think that I've definitely, especially over quarantine, like I found what really works for me. And I've stuck with the Shea Moisture Jamaican Black Castor Oil line. And I use their shampoo, their hair mask, their leave-in conditioner, and their just normal like rinse out conditioner, even though I put it in my hair like it's leave-in, whatever. And girl, because like I think it even like creates better slip and like better definition for me. But that, that's just me. But I also use like from it really it really does.
Better than the regular leave-in. It is.
Yeah, like I feel like it, I use the leave-in for like moisturizing, but in terms of like styling products, is I don't use gel, because I my edges used to be crispy and crunchy. I can't do that anymore. But and I use Jamaican black castor oil like for my roots and my ends. So I love Jamaican black castor oil. I need to re-up on it, go to Target or something.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's my yeah. Oh, yeah, that's my hair products.
Right. And I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? You said something that was gonna make me go into something. Yes, products. I use Miele. I'm just plugging this in here. I use Miele or Miele. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh yeah, Miele. Yeah. It's black owned.
Yeah, it is. And I use the strengthening rosemary and mint, the whole line. And because it was a struggle, like we were talking about the eco style phase that we like had.
Had us in shackles, in chains.
Edges were not. But yeah, I've been using that whole line. That's a really good line as well, for the people with natural hair out there listening. Another question that you got. We answered the friend and how we met, products. What's your favorite movie?
I definitely would say it's The Wiz, but it's mainly because like it came at a point in my life. I don't even know, not that it came at a point in my life, but like it's very integral to my childhood. Like I was involved in this community theater production in like elementary and middle school. And we did The Wiz, and like I watched The Wiz during that time a lot because I was like obsessed with the movie and stuff. And it just reminds me of like Black excellence. And then it like reappeared in my life during quarantine, and I was just like, dang, like I'm definitely into like a lot of different genres. So like I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Harry Potter, Star Wars, all that stuff. I even like the Jurassic World. That was a really good movie. I mean, not Jurassic World. I know that's like the remake, but whatever. I like that movie a lot.
And leading into that, someone also asked, do you see yourself as a protagonist or more as a supporting character?
Oh man, so when we had our little technical difficulties, but I think this is the last thing we got on.
I know.
I think that like the way I see it is that everyone's a protagonist technically in their own movie, but it's like, what genre are you in? I think that for me, if I was a supporting character in anything, it would be like a campy, like teen movie, like, or even like a Disney Channel original, like a High School Musical type thing. I feel like I'd be Taylor, like, super driven, like the president of the organization, stuff like that. Cause that was just my type in high school. And kind of still now, but like it's different in college. But I think I would be the protagonist, and like I would hope that I'd be the protagonist in a rom-com, because I'm such a romantic and like sappy, sentimental, sensitive person at heart. And the little things, like I like doing cheesy things. And I'm glad that the people that I'm involved with and the people that like care about me, the person that cares about me romantically, why am I talking like I'm in a harem? The person that cares about me romantically is like on board with this. I'm like, yes, let's be cheesy. Let's do all the things. So
that's how I am.
I really like that.
Yeah, that's how I am with books. Because I'm a reader, and like all of my books have to have something like cheesy, love or whatever the case is inside of it. I think in my life, I would be a supporting character just in every aspect, because a supporting character always has their own story. That's aside from the main story. So definitely a supporting character in every aspect. Someone asked, what is your go-to motivating song?
I would definitely say my go-to is Cranes in the Sky by Solange. And I think it's because Solange's music is very soothing. So like when I'm stressed out or when I have, headaches based on stress, because that happens to me sometimes. Ignore the background noise. I think it's like, I don't know what's going on up there. But I'll just listen to Solange, like put on her albums. And then the song specifically, like the meaning behind it is really about like grappling with societal issues and like sometimes that it feels overwhelming. So it really speaks to like kind of my mindset.
Right. Someone also asks, what does love mean to you?
Man, that's a good question.
So this person asked three
Yeah.
three questions, and one was, what does love mean to you, and the other one was the favorite movie, and then
Yeah.
there's one that says, what's your dream guy, but we're gonna do the what does love mean to you.
Yeah, we can do that. So I think that love for me, man, so there's different types of love, definitely. And I don't know all the types, but there's like actual classifications. So I know there's like agape, which is kind of like a godly slash like brotherly type love, and it's just all encompassing. So I love saying, like, even in romantic settings, I like to say that I love like through agape, I guess. Like I like agape love, and it's just like going head first into it, being unabashed in your love for someone, being unabashed in your care for someone, and not being afraid to fall, and not being afraid to like fall hard. Because I mean, the worst that's going to happen is that you get disappointed, but I think it's better to like just go for it and really lean into it than like holding back and distancing yourself from people. Like you have to really experience the fullness of the relationships that you're in, platonically and romantically. And then in terms of like romantic love, I have no idea. That's a great question. I mean, I guess I think that like when you know, you know. But I also think that like, I don't know, it just depends. Some people think that, you know, love takes like a lot of time, and that's definitely true, like deep love, in my opinion. But I also think that you can just love somebody and love their spirit. I think it's different from being in love. Maybe that's the difference. Like you can, because you can love someone that doesn't love you back, or you can love someone that like you're not even like checking, like they're not checking for you romantically, but maybe you're checking for them. Just because you love their spirit and you love, you know, who they are as a person. But I do think it's different than being like mutually in love with someone and just falling into love with someone. But at the end of the day, I think love is just about sacrifice, and not sacrifice in a draining way, but like being willing to put others before yourself while you're growing as a person.
Yeah, for sure. And trust as well. I think that's the first thing that came to my mind. But there definitely is a difference between being in love and then loving someone, for sure. Another question that someone asked was, any advice for college applications?
I would say the main thing, well, one, don't feel obligated to apply to too many schools. I think it's great for people, you know, that like apply to 30 schools, get into 30 schools, stuff like that. But it's also a very stressful time. Senior year is like, depending on how many classes you're taking, of course, or just what's going on in your senior year, but you want to make sure that you're like, again, protecting your peace. So if that means applying to, you know, a couple schools in different categories, a couple schools that are kind of your reach schools slash dream schools, a couple schools that you feel like, you know, you're on par with academically or whatever, and then a couple schools that are kind of, you know, your safety nets, and like you would still have a good time there, but you know, that's not like your first choice. I think that's the most important. And then in terms of the application specifically, what I would say is like, don't be afraid to talk about the things that you're passionate about, and show your personality and be authentic. Because at the end of the day, like I know people that got here because of various different topics that they talk about in their supplementals and their personal statement. You know, and anything under the sun that you're passionate about, even if you're talking about things you've done in high school and stuff, like as long as you're showing your personality and showing your interest and telling your story, then colleges will look at that and really appreciate it.
For sure. And I would say to stay calm. I know, like Kiersten said, this is a very stressful time. And obviously us going into it, we, you know, are experiencing that very stressful time, but stay calm. I know it's your future, you know, the future depends on it, but, you know, stay calm and know that you, you know, have the ability to apply, and whatever happens. But yeah, talk about your passions, talk about what you enjoy to do and things that you've already done. Because most likely, you know, they want to hear about you. They want to know who you are. Grades will follow, it will back it up, but you know, they want to know about who you are and what kind of person they are going to accept into their university. And then that leads to another question that someone asks, how did you do Harvard? So I guess, how did you get to Harvard? Funny. How did you apply? I guess.
So I guess what I'll say is like, In terms of people like that get here, I think that nobody that comes here is the same. But I think that the common thread for the most part is that everyone here is like super passionate about the things that they've done in all the different aspects of their lives. Like you don't have to be, the smartest person in the room or the most accomplished, but it's like the fact that you care about things and the fact that you're like super passionate and super authentic. But I think in college in general, that could be said for any college. For me, I would say I'm like, I don't know what got me into Harvard or anything like that. I guess it was just a number of things. In high school, I just challenged myself academically to the brink of not caring about my mental health. Obviously, that's an issue of burnout and stuff. But I definitely enjoyed, like, I genuinely enjoyed, especially by the time I got to junior year, the classes that I was in. Like, I actually liked what I was learning. And that was what really, pushed me to keep going academically. Because I was like, not only do I want these, classes on my resume to look good, but I'm actually I'm enjoying the content that I'm learning. And that really and I think I just had really good teachers too that nurtured me and like really fostered my love for learning. In addition to, having a family of educators that instilled that value in me. And then outside of school, I was just involved in a lot of different things. I was a cheerleader for all 4 years, which was very time intensive. And one thing I'll say for college apps is like, you don't have to have a huge list, because I didn't even have I was involved in a lot of things, but I know people that were involved in like twice as many as me, because the things I was in were very time intensive, especially cheer. Like cheer, I was practicing every day after school. And then games would last hours and I'd be at the school for hours. Sometimes you come in on Saturdays for different events. Like it was very time intensive. So you have to like really explain in these college apps, like how much time, because they'll ask you like how many hours per week, blah, blah, blah. And if they give you the opportunity to talk about this extracurricular for 150 words in a supplemental, do it. Like tell them how much time and effort that you put into it. Tell them, the awards that you got, because like, I think that cheer was probably the most time intensive thing that I was in. And then of course, like I was involved in other clubs too and started clubs and stuff, started initiatives. But and then in terms of advocacy, like I did things I was passionate about. But I think at the end of the day, I knew that like when I submitted my college apps, wherever I was going, like God had meant it for me. And because I did what I had to do in high school and tried my best and like put my best foot forward, even if I didn't get into Harvard, even if I ended up going to like one of my other choices, because I was looking at state schools, I was looking at HBCUs, and I know that I would have been just as happy at any of those. But, God ultimately will guide your path and allow you to have discernment and choose where you need to be.
He will, for sure. And that was great advice for the person who asked this, as I know they're, in the process right now of doing college applications, and they really look up to you in regards to that. So that was really, really good advice. Second to last question, someone asked, how would I be more social and outgoing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know you have a good answer for that because you're just so personable.
I was going to say, definitely in the social aspect, I'm all up in there, but I think it's just about getting outside of your comfort zone a little bit. So if it's not naturally something that's in you, like if you're an introvert and you want to be more extroverted, you want to start meeting people, connecting, networking, you got to get outside of that comfort zone. And it can be as simple as, hey, what's your name? Or do you have Instagram? You'll find something and you'll start conversation. But also with anything you're already involved in, just connecting in the people that's already there and just getting to know them more. That's being social. That's being more outgoing. You're stepping out of your normal routine of just watching, or a normal routine of just being to yourself. But yeah, and then also if you don't want to be the type that like goes up to people and you want people more to come to you, then be in a room where like things are happening, be in an active room, and be in the moment as well. So go to events at your school, and go to, pop-ups, and go to the mall, like, different things like that. Be in an environment that is social and in an outgoing environment. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I feel like for me, I'm a little more introverted. Well, it's hard to say. I think that in like literally my whole life I've been super extroverted. And then when I got to high school, because I didn't know many people at Creek, like I became very introverted. And like my extroverted side, I guess, really just showed around my friends from middle school and stuff. And even now, like making new friends here is a little like it's not easy. You just have to, for the friendships you do make, you have to put in work. Like, and it's not, you know, obviously it's not super hard, but like as simple as remembering to hit people up and check on them from time to time, like that really shows that you care about people, and like supporting them in the things that they do, that really shows that you care. But in terms of making new friends, again, like Sierra said, put yourself in social situations, because if you're surrounded, like even if you're introverted and you don't really want to talk to people, if you're surrounded by extroverts, they will come to you. You just have to like not be sitting there with a resting face.
Right.
Like just don't look like you don't want to be there.
Right. Don't be
like, you know, like like be cognizant of the way that you present yourself, because if you look warm and welcoming, I mean, obviously, like I don't want to tell people like force yourself to have a fake smile, but if you really want to be social and make friends, like make sure that you're happy at the event that you're at. If you're not, you know, you can go home, but like go to events that you're happy at, so that like people will come. Like if you're having a good time, they're like, oh, he's having a good time, you know, like let me go over there and see what they're about. Right. So yeah, I think it's about like placing yourself in the situation, because if you're introverted or extroverted, you'll find people in those settings.
For sure. And like you said, if you don't want to be there, you don't have to be there, you know.
You don't have to be there. Just chill.
Right. And like, you know, but remain humble, remain kind, be true to yourself. But you know, that aroma, that energy that you present, that will gravitate the right people towards you. And so lastly, what is next for Kiersten Hash, or what is next for, you know, Queens for Change maybe, or just what's next for you within the next couple of months or the rest of the year, anything like that?
So I've been saying to literally everybody I encounter that my mantra is protecting my peace, and also sub mantra is giving myself grace, but mainly protecting my peace. I mean, both can happen simultaneously. For me, my goal for first semester was just finding my footing and finding my balance. And so far, you know, I'm trying to do a good job of that. And it's a continuous process, but like prioritizing, you know, myself and my spirituality, and then letting everything circle around that. And I think that going forward, now that like I found my footing and, you know, I'm continuing to find my balance and stuff, now I can like really set academic goals.
Right.
Because I didn't it's so funny. Like I did not have many goals for what I wanted to do here. I was just like, let me just find my balance and find, I mean, my overall goal was like to do well and, you know, continue to set high standards for myself, but also giving myself grace. Like if I do bad on something, it's not the end of the world. And I don't have to stress about it, because I still have 4 years to get it right. I think going forward for school though, I want to continue to like find classes I'm interested in, and especially for next semester, like really finding and making sure that what I want to major in is what I want to major in, because I don't want to get stuck in something and then be like, dang, I don't like this at all. I think out of like for extracurriculars, this semester I have like some good ones that I'm doing, and I think I've been good about discernment of what I want to do. I'm still trying to like finalize exactly what I'm doing, but I think I'll stick with everything I'm in. But again, y'all, if you're like uneasy about stuff, it's also okay to say no to some of it. But like in terms of what I've decided to do, I think it's issues that I genuinely care about, like because I'm mostly in community-based, like advocacy-based extracurriculars, but also it's like the organizations, I see the potential for growth for all of them, or at least the ones that I know I'm going to continue in, because like that was something important to me, like helping build up infrastructure on campus, like surrounding advocacy. And I can see like these are, you know, a couple of them like are newer organizations, things that want to continue to gain momentum. And I know that I could be an asset to their team. So I'm excited for that. And then in terms of Queens for Change, There are big things coming. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I took a hiatus in terms of Queens for Change because I wanted to find my footing in college, and I knew that I couldn't juggle both, like trying to in it because the Queens for Change network is so centered in Charlotte. I knew I couldn't juggle like trying to like maintain Charlotte community work while being up here and trying to find community organizations and stuff. But I have found I'm chill now. I've like pretty much found my balance. I'm still working and growing, but for the most part, I'm good. So I'll just say expect good things. Keep up with the Queens for Change CLT Instagram because there are big things coming. We just hit our 2-year anniversary on October 5th of 2021. So I definitely want to do some stuff to celebrate that. Yeah. And I'm very excited for what's coming. So just keep your eyes peeled.
If you want to drop your, all the ads.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on my personal Instagram at Kiki, KIKI .Brea, BREA. And I mean, I just post, my pictures and, like random stuff on there. But Queens for Change, the Instagram is Queens for Change CLT. So you can follow me on there. And the last thing I posted, I think, was in July. So we've been dormant. We've been very much dormant. But I mean, this has been purposeful, just taking the time to like recenter myself, figure out how I'm managing being in Massachusetts and being in North Carolina in terms of community work. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled.
I love that. And, it's all about purposeful resting. And I think that's exactly what you're doing and protecting your peace and finding your balance. And I think you're doing such a good job, finding it. And I'm just so, so proud of you, of everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you all so much for, tuning in to the 8th episode of the DLF podcast with Kiersten Hash, Think Like a Queen. And I'm just so, so appreciative of this episode, so appreciative of your time and everyone listening for getting this far if you're at the end. Yes. And until next time, remember to love without limits, to walk by faith, be courageous, be strong, and don't put a cap on anything, on your dreams and your goals and your reservations. And shine your light in whatever room that you walk into. So this has been the DLF podcast with Sierra Janelle. Until next time, see you next episode.
Yay! Oh my gosh, that was great.